Welcome to the Private Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Storm, here to help you unlock the mind, business, and spirit of your private practice success. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to grow, this is the place for you if you really want to create a thriving private practice. Before we dive in, I want to share something that can really make a difference in your business. Imagine having an expert in your pocket, someone available on demand whenever you need guidance. Well, that's exactly what my new program, Practice Momentum, offers. With over 30 years of experience at your fingertips, you can now get the support you need whenever you need it. Curious? Head over to brooklynstorm.com to learn more.
Hi, my name is Chloe and I'm part of the Practice Momentum program. I've been working with Brooklyn for a couple of months now and I can't believe it took me this long. Before I joined Momentum, I was trying to do everything. I was trying to refine my marketing. I was trying to update my website all the time. I was trying to network. I was trying to build my practice, and I had absolutely no idea what to focus on, what I needed to do first. I couldn't understand why nothing was working. It was so stressful because there was no money coming in at that point, and I had been following Brooklyn for a few years and I always wanted to do coaching with her, and I always kind of put it off because I didn't feel like I was at that point in time. It was my imposter syndrome pretty badly. Fast forward, the time felt right. Brooklyn was so accommodating and helpful with finding a way for me to do the program, and it's been absolutely life-changing. Brooklyn has helped me to plan and make goals and break down bigger tasks. Like, don't just do a website, actually break it into parts so you have areas to focus on, which I've never done before. I'm so grateful. I reached all of my goals in the last quarter, and that led to a massive increase in my caseload, in my income, and my website is actually generating referrals now, which is incredible. I didn't think it would ever happen. So I'm so grateful. If you're thinking about it, don't wait as long as I did. Absolutely do it. I couldn't speak highly enough of Brooklyn, her generosity, her care, and compassion.
Welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So pleased that you're here because I have a very, very helpful episode for you today, especially if you're somebody who has been struggling with marketing for all kinds of reasons. Hopefully by the end of this, you're going to come away with some new insights and ideas, and hopefully be inspired to take some action that's going to feel aligned with your values. So this all came about because on the weekend I was sitting down, I was just flicking the channels, going through Netflix, and came across a new docuseries, I guess, reality of Simon Cowell. So if you don't know who Simon Cowell is, he is I think he's like a band manager or, music manager. And anyway, he founded and created like One Direction, the boy band, and, Westlife and all of these. But anyway, he is a judge on America's Got Talent and Britain's Got Talent and all of the things. But anyway, he decided that he's going to have another crack at making a boy band. And so this docuseries is really the journey from start to finish of that. Now, granted, I'm only a couple of episodes in, but it was very interesting because he's super duper famous. Now, when he was, sort of getting the idea together, he was saying, I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. And he was explaining to his partner, I really want to do it. I want to see if I still have what it takes. I want to know, is it still in me? Like this skill, this ability, or is it something that has maybe left me. And so, yeah, this is his kind of last hurrah, if you like. And so she was very supportive and, all of that, wonderful. And so he reconnects with people that have supported him and that he's worked with in the past. These people include singer, songwriters, musicians and artists, marketing people, admin people, publicity people, like you can imagine. And so he meets with them and they're having a conversation around the table and none of them know why they're there. And he explains to them, well, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to put another boy band together. And they all, they're very happy about it and they're kind of laughing and, good naturedly. And anyway, and he's like, so this is a big project and we need to get it right. And so he's, motivating them and giving them some clarity around what was going to be happening. He says that he needs to start doing auditions, or he intends to start doing auditions in 2 months. So that's only 8 weeks, right? And he's saying, so we need to go and start marketing ASAP. In the next little part, we start to see the marketing, and he is in the back of a taxi not taxi, like he's being driven around. He's being driven around, and it looks like they're under a bridge, under an underpass or something like that. But there is this huge billboard that's got a headshot of him, and on it, there's some writing and it says, Simon needs you. And then I think underneath that in smaller writing, something about, starting a new boy band. And anyway, so there's journalists there's press there, and, they're all taking some photos of Simon in front of his billboard and everything. It's all very exciting. And then in the next part, everybody's very excited to take Simon into, the town square. I'm imagining if you're in Melbourne, it's like Bourke Street Mall. But if you're in New York, you probably think Times Square. I don't know where he actually was. But anyway, that's the kind of vibe. And there was this huge vertical billboard, so huge, digital. And it had another headshot of him. And again, it was saying sort of Simon needs you. And it was about the boy band stuff. And they were very excited to see this digital billboard, and there was celebrations and there was champagne flowing and glasses clinking. It was all very, very happy and very, very exciting. So anyway, cut to the next scene, and what's happening is he's explaining to us, the audience, that he needs to have a lot of people sign up. And then he's explaining to I guess maybe whoever is interviewing him, or, someone off to the side, he's saying that, oh yeah, you need lots of people to sign up because usually you want to have a boy band that's got about 5 members, but to get those 5 members, you need to be working with a short list of, 100 or something, but to get those 100, you need thousands applying. And all of this. And then he was sharing that the dropout rate is around 40%. So I was impressed that he knew his numbers. I'm going to say that. I was very impressed he knew his numbers. And yeah, I thought, oh, that's interesting. 40% dropout rate, 40% attrition. And that's after people sign up. So those people who have gone through his funnel, they've become aware of him wanting to do the boy band thing. They've become aware of that. So they've gone through the top of the funnel. They're interested, right? And they've moved through that part of the funnel and they've taken some action. They've actually gone and applied. But yeah, there's a 40% dropout rate. And then of the 60% that are left, there's always people that just aren't a good I was going to say match and fit. And I said fat. They're not great, right? They're not ideal. So that might be that they're older than what you would expect for a boy band. So maybe it's guys in their 30s, or maybe they just don't have talent, right? Or maybe they're not going to gel with some of the other people, all the things that make someone not fit. So anyway, they then meet up. He meets up with the marketers and the publicity people and, the numbers people. a little while later, and we're at week 4. So he's a month into his marketing campaign. He's thrown so much money at it. Ridiculous. Oh, and while all of this was happening, he was also getting up at the crack of dawn doing loads of breakfast radio. Like I think he did, I don't know, he did in total, I think it was 40 radio appearances across breakfast radio and then like regular radio. And he did, I think on top of that, like 20 television appearances on like breakfast television shows and, you know, daytime television shows and stuff like that. So he was like doing the rounds. He was working so hard. So anyway, they're all meeting up at the 4-week mark and he's excited and he's like, okay, I'm kind of nervous, but I'm kind of excited too. Where are we with the numbers? Like how many have applied? And it is crickets. None of his team say a word. And he's like, well, guys, like, where are we at? Like, what's happening? And then one of the people says, well, yep, the good news is we've had 9,000 unique visitors to the website. That's good news. And Simon's like, yeah, and the guy says, and yeah, of those 9,000 people, 160 have applied to audition to be in the boy band. And Simon just like the colour just drains from his face and nobody's saying anything. The women are chewing on the ends of their pens and wiggling their feet nervously, like there's tension. And then Simon's like, we can't do this. Like, this is not going to work. What on earth has happened? What's happened? What do you mean there's only 160? And then the guy says, well, it's not even 160, Simon. And Simon's like, what? And the guy says, well, of those 160, only 93 are viable to audition. The others are beyond the age range or they don't have, you know, whatever other requirements there were. So only 93 people applied out of 9,000. Now, a good conversion rate or an average conversion rate even is between 2 and 3%, right? So should have been about 300 people, right? If I'm doing the maths right, which I don't know because I'm just doing this in my head at the moment. But, oops, hang on. Now I've got out the calculator. You know, this is what I do. Yeah, so 10% is 900. Yeah, so 3% is going to be like, yeah, about 300 people. But he only had 93. Interesting. Anyway, so then he's like, well, what's been going wrong? And do you know what? I can tell you exactly what's been going wrong, but hear it from them first. So one of the guys says, well, you know, the website and the application, like just the landing page, it takes between 4 and 5 minutes to read. And the average teenage boy who's like 14, 15, 16 doesn't have the attention span to sit in front of a computer and read for 4 or 5 minutes before applying. Like, that's clear. You've had 9,000 of them come to the website and only this, 1%, barely 1%, have been able to be the exception to the rule and actually sit down and fill it out. So the application's too long. Somebody else said, well, maybe it's because while we've got the billboards and they were fun and exciting, one is under a bridge or an overpass, which probably teenagers wouldn't see anyway, because if they're in a car, maybe the teenage boys just go past it very quickly and they don't notice it. Or maybe the teenage boys are distracted or they're on their phones in the car and they're just not looking up and seeing it, so it's not getting eyes on it. And even with the one that's in like the great big shopping district, like how many teenage boys are actually there and looking at it and seeing it. So maybe we've got some issues with the marketing and we need to perhaps be where the teenagers are. And isn't that exactly what we talk about? And this was the other thing as well. Simon was like, I don't get it. Like, I'm famous. I'm worldwide famous. Like, I've got a massive audience. What is going on? And he realized by sort of unpacking what wasn't working with his team that some, very obvious mistakes had been made. For example, he isn't meeting his audience where they are. He's lost touch. Like, one of his big things, as I mentioned before, was that he was responsible for creating the boy band One Direction. But would 14, 15, 16-year-olds today know who One Direction is, and would they know who Simon Cowell is, right? So he's maybe known to his own audience, but he's not known to the audience that he's trying to attract. They don't know who he is. They don't know what he's done. So, why are they going to care, kind of thing. And also, I think if I was a teenage boy, which I know I'm not, but anyway, I would probably be on my social media, right? Or something else, at the skate park maybe, or like, I don't know, on a computer game somewhere, like, I don't know, but probably socials would be the best place. And so anyway, he realizes this, and his team realize this, and then they update the marketing campaign, and they say, right, we've got 4 weeks only. We've got to go hard with this, and we've got to go fast with this. So they go and they connect with like 60 influencers, and he has interviews with all the 60 influencers, and they are asking him questions and, getting eyes on the project and stuff like this. He does TikTok, and he says, I've got a goal of, I want this many people following me, and he smashes the goal. I think he wanted 250,000, and then, it went up like really high. I don't know what it ended up as at the end, but he totally smashed it. So things like that he started doing more of. I guess the other thing that I recognized too was, why do breakfast radio? Like, what teenage boy is up at 5 a.m. to listen to breakfast radio, or even to watch a breakfast show like Good Morning Australia? Like, they're not generally. So yeah, it was interesting because he thought what had worked in the past was going to work now. He was relying on just trusting that everybody knew who he was, and he realized later on people didn't know who he was. He needed to update his message because the teenage boys, the message was, Simon needs you. Well, they're like, who's Simon? What does he need me for? Like, they had no idea what it was about. So that needed to be updated so it resonated and landed. So even though Simon Cowell, and even though his very expensive team of very expensive, very educated marketers and publicists were working so hard and spending so much money and putting so much effort on, and thought that they had a great message, the audience was saying, you don't. And they were saying he didn't, by not applying to audition for the band. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Also interesting that you can take away from this too is that not only was the messaging off, but there was friction. So, when you and I are talking about your website, and I say to you, somebody should be able to book really easy. That means don't force them to go through your contact form, right? That's how you lose people. If you don't have, I looked at websites over the last month, and I think I found one that had a phone number on it. One. Even the association that I'm on the board for doesn't have a friggin' phone number on the website. What is this about? What is going on? When did you decide not to put your phone number on? I don't get it. It's just making it so much harder for people to book with you. And then worse, when I click on the phone, because sometimes people have an icon of a phone. So I clicked on it to see whether or not it would reveal magically the phone number. But oh no, my FaceTime opens up on my computer. I don't want to FaceTime anybody. I just want the freaking phone number, guys. But anyway, the point is that by having such a lot of information for whoever was interested to read through, and for it to take so long, even though Simon and his team thought it was great, what the audience was saying was, it's too much. I can't be bothered. Too long. Didn't read. Now it's hard. Forget it. I'm not going to apply. And so they didn't apply. So this is very important. We always want to make the process of somebody getting started with us as simple and easy as possible. As simple and easy as possible. And for those of you who follow my Facebook business page and who are in Practice Momentum, you will know the secret to getting more signups and more downloads and things like that, because I share exactly how I do that over there inside Practice Momentum. So you already have that information. But for those who aren't inside Practice Momentum, the thing that I can share with you here is that you've got to make it really, 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 really easy. The more steps it takes somebody to book a call with you or to book an appointment with you, the less likely they are to take action and book the call. And then you're going to say, I've got a website, it's not working. I've got this, it's not working. And you're going to be very upset and wondering why, all of the things. So yeah. So the other thing I think to take away from this as well is that when Simon and his team were doing the marketing for this, they were in their heads. They were thinking and operating from a mindset of how they thought this needed to be presented. What was missing was the research, right? They hadn't done any research on things like, what are teenage boys into now? Where do teenage boys spend their time? What kind of music does the average teenage boy listen to? They hadn't done any of that. You and I might call that an ideal client, right? And that's where we start. Some people might teach it to you as being ideal client. Some might say it's an avatar, all the things, whatever. We all know what we're talking about. It's the person that you most want to be working with in your private practice. That was a step that they overlooked because they assumed they were so experienced they didn't need to do it. So again, this is a message for those of you who are in an established private practice. Maybe you've been in it for, longer than 12 months and you're not seeing the results that you really want. Have a look at how you're writing on your website and how you're writing on your marketing, whether it's socials or LinkedIn or your emails, things. Are you writing what you think they need to hear and what you think they want to hear? Because if that's what's happening and you're slow on inquiries or you're slow on bookings and things just aren't going as consistently as you want them to be, that's telling you something. That's telling you that there's a disconnect and what you think they want and need is not what they're wanting and needing right now. And so with that awareness, go back, connect, do your research, find out and update everything, okay? Very, very helpful to have this real life example for you here. The other thing too is having a really complicated landing page. I see this a lot. Sometimes I can go onto a website and I will see lots of tabs across the top. A lot of them are not necessary and they're just kind of taking up space, cluttering up the screen. We don't want that. We want to have simplicity. We want to have things as minimal as possible. So it's very, very easy for your person to find the information quickly that they're looking for. But sometimes I see lots and lots of tabs across the top and then I get overwhelmed myself just thinking about how many tabs there are. But then when I click on a tab, it turns into a drop-down menu that's got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages underneath it, and then it's like too much and I don't even want to look at it, and then click on the next tab and it's the same thing, and the next tab. Like, you don't need, it's way too much. It's overwhelming. People don't even want to, as soon as they see that drop down menu like I do, they click off, and you're losing people. So you're doing it though because you're thinking it's required in order to provide all the information and, you know, to get the client and everything. But actually, no, your clients are, if you look at your Google Analytics, they're probably coming over to your website, maybe clicking around on one or two things and then getting out, because it is too much. Keep it very, very simple. So anything that you want them to take action on needs to be what we call frictionless, and the website needs to be a very easy, pleasing user experience, right? This means all links working. This means no videos, no scrolling banners, no stock images. Like, make it clean, simple, minimal. Yes, it can still be feminine if that's what you're going for. Or yes, it can still be nature-based. Or yes, it can still be, you know, warm and spiritual, or, you know, what corporate or more professional if you're doing training or supervision and things like that. Absolutely, it can still have all of those things. Not a problem. But yeah, this is what you need to be aware of. And the reason that that's so important is because, yeah, the easier it is, the more bookings you get, basically. And not knowing the audience, very important. I've already touched on that. User experience, done that. I'm just reading over a couple of quick notes that I jotted down while I was watching the documentary to share with you. Too many steps, mentioned that. Go where your audience is. Yes. Now, this is one of the other things that comes up a lot. People will say to me, you know, I need help with my marketing. I say, sure. What are you doing for your marketing at the moment? And they will say that they're creating content and they're sharing it across multiple platforms. And it's actually the same piece of content. That's actually damaging your visibility for a number of reasons. All of the platforms check and scan, and they don't like to make your content visible, meaning they don't want to share it to people if you've already posted it somewhere else, right? So if you've already put it on Instagram and then you send it the same thing, you share it from Instagram over to Facebook say, oh, well, we're getting it secondhand. She obviously doesn't love us very much, so not gonna share it with many people. We'll share it with her family and friends, and, you know, 3 of her 5,000 followers. That's what happens. So you don't want to ever be sharing the exact same content over to different platforms. It doesn't work. Every platform has a different audience and every platform has different requirements. So you need to post accordingly. And also, your client isn't on every platform. All you're doing is you're leaking energy and it's looking desperate. And we don't want to do that. We don't want you to be in that energy of marketing the business from a space of proving yourself, proving your worth, convincing people, trying to like scoop up as many, you know, clients as possible. It's always better, because when you do that, right, your message doesn't land anywhere because you're not writing it to or for anyone. You may think that you are, but actually the audience on LinkedIn is different to TikTok, is different to Instagram, is different to Snapchat, is different to YouTube, is different to a Facebook business page, is different to a community group, is different to a Facebook community page. So there's no point. Like, save yourself the effort. Master one thing first. That first thing is always, in my opinion, going to be your website, because even if, you know, by some miracle you are spamming all the social platforms with the same post and somebody, you know, is interested and they click the link and they come over to the website, if that website is full of moving videos, music, you know, stacked text that's centered and all higgledy-piggledy, multiple fonts, weird fonts, you know, stuff like that, 27 gazillion tabs in drop-down menus, they're going to click off, because it's where 80% of the decisions are made about working with you. So that's why, like, do your socials after the website's working. Yeah. So also interesting to hear from like a real life person, celebrity, well-known person that, 9,000 people visited his website as a famous celebrity person doing like a very big marketing thing, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on advertising, paid ads, gets 9,000 people to the website and 160 apply. So when you make your website and, you say, oh, I've got a website and nobody's booked, well, how many people have seen the website, right? I mean, you don't have the same resources probably as Simon Cowell. And if he's getting 9,000 and only 160 are taking action, how many people need to visit your website in order for them to take action, right? Very, very helpful to see what it looks like for other people and their websites. But yes, for every 100 people that come across your website, if the website's up to standard, on average, you would expect 2 or 3 for every 100 to actually book and pay for an appointment, right? Others are going to do different things. They'll move through the different phases of your funnel and stuff like that. But on average, for every 100 people, it should be, 2 or 3 inquiries or bookings coming through. So when you look at your numbers, if you've only had 30 people come and look at your website, that's telling you that either people don't know that it's there, and you can't rely on SEO alone. There's passive and there's active income marketing, and having a website, that's passive. But you've got to get that website in front of people, which means apart from, the standard things like SEO, you've got to let people know, hey, here's my website. Hey, look over here, right? You've got to be sharing, just like you have to with your freebies, right? Otherwise, you can't just leave them on your website and, say, oh, nobody's downloading it. Well, no one's going to download it if they don't know it's there. You've got to let people know it's there and send them to the website to get it. Anyway, so yeah, the thing too that we learn here is that Simon really does want 1,000 people auditioning. So given that only 160 have applied, and of them only 93 were qualified candidates, right? People who could actually go and participate in the audition and have a shot. That's telling us that he needs 10 times more traffic. Now, if he had 9,000 visitors, he's going to need 90,000 visitors, right? You see? Very important. He's got an issue with the top of his funnel. The teenagers are not aware. They do not know who he is. They do not know what he's trying to do. They do not know what's in it for them. He's marketing, but he's marketing over there when his audience are over here, right? So it's like, yeah. Anyway, I think this really highlights the foundation, one of the foundations of the Practice Momentum business framework, which is identity. And by that, I mean how you see yourself, how you perceive yourself. Your self-perception determines what you do, determines the results that you get. A lot of the time people want to jump to the strategy, just give me the next thing, I'm doing all of these things, but obviously I'm missing something. It's not always about the thing that you need to do that you're missing. More times than not, it's about how you're seeing yourself, how you're showing up for yourself, the things that you believe to be true, all those kinds of things. So here, for example, we've got, just using Simon again, here, his identity is like, I'm already famous. I already have a massive audience. I don't really need to market that much. I'm very experienced doing, creating highly successful artists and boy bands, right? And so he was operating from that. Instead, it would have been better if he said, who do I need to be in order to connect with my audience here? Who do I need to be? That version of me that has, over 1,000 boys auditioning for my boy band. Who was that version of me? Who did I show up as? Who did I need to become? What was I missing here? He went into this without a beginner mindset. A beginner mindset would have gone right back to the start and would have said, okay, from the beginning, who are we targeting? Break it down. How old are they? What countries do they live in? Where do we find them? All those kinds of things. Had he approached this with a beginner mindset, there would have been a very different outcome. Identity is incredibly important, not only for your private practice, but in other areas of your life as well, because identity always determines your actions, and your actions determine the results that you get. So if you're working really, 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 really hard, but you're not seeing the results that you want, have a look at the actions that you're doing, actions that you're taking, and then have a look at who you were being, what you were saying to yourself, what you believed to be true, the stories you were telling yourself, all those kinds of things, because that's what caused you to take those actions. Understanding that everything begins with identity will get you very, very far more quickly in your private practice. So I hope that this was helpful. If it was, and you would like my help with your private practice, please reach out. The easiest way to do that is to book a 15-minute consultation with me. I will put the link in the show notes below. Or if you don't want to do that, but you would like some guidance, tips, suggestions, some recommendations for your website, of course, I will also add in the link to order a website wellness check in the show notes for you as well. As always, thank you so much for being part of my world. I really do appreciate you. Have a wonderful Wednesday, and I'll see you in the Saturday edition. Bye. Welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Podcast. I'm so pleased that you're here. Okay, so I'm going to share something with you, but please don't misunderstand what I'm about to say. Have you ever, been talking to someone, maybe your supervisor, your own therapist, and they've said to you something along the lines of, the reason that you feel like this is because you're giving so much of your energy to other people. What are you doing for yourself? Because here's the thing, people that I have worked with myself, my supervisor, my therapist, other people that I see, they say stuff like that to me. And the thing is, I've always just kind of dismissed it. And I just said, oh, yes, I know I should, And I always thought maybe I did have some very good practices. I use my cards, I journal. Journaling is really, really helpful for me. It's how I process things, all of that. But it wasn't until, I'm just thinking about like recent examples, okay? But of course, there have been many examples in my career, but this is the most recent one. Recently, I started, as you know, like pivoting the business, updating my own internal systems and processes for that, or as part of that, I should say. And guess what's happened? Or guess what I'm starting to see is different as a result of, fixing, updating, revamping some of the ways that I was working. I've actually been able to create more space, which might sound impossible because I know, like if you looked at my Google Calendar, there's not a whole lot in it. Like my goal would be to get pretty much nothing in it. I like ways of working that don't require sessions. But anyway, it's really been very, very noticeable. So I've started doing some very, 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 very different things behind the scenes that support me in how I work. So introducing new structures into the business, introducing new ways of doing things into the business that work really well with my energy, right? Like you, my energy is up, it's down. It's predictable in its unpredictability. You know what I mean? But anyway, like it's just also kind of been weird. So this has been happening for the last couple of weeks as a, I guess, unexpected byproduct of the current experiment that I'm doing. Because you know me, I'm always doing an experiment, right? So it's happened as a result of that, really. And it's been so strange to find myself, I guess, I don't know. I always used to feel like there was so much more to do, that I was behind, that I was chasing, that my work was never done, all of those kinds of things, just like so many people in private practice feel, right? And it can be incredibly frustrating when you're just kind of expecting to be able to do whatever it is and then it's done, right? But it feels like, and sometimes often there is, the next thing. But anyway, with this experiment that I've been doing, I've been able to address a lot of that. And now everything just feels a lot more calm. And it wasn't about like, I don't know, making a to-do list. And it wasn't really about more strategies or anything like that. But as I said, like one of the unexpected side effects of this experiment has been I have just felt more, I don't know, like I'm getting stuff done, and then that's creating space because there isn't as much stuff to do. And also the next time I've got to do stuff, it doesn't take me anywhere near as long because I've shifted, and it is not about practical things. It's about how I'm seeing myself. It's about how I'm seeing my business and things like that. So when I went to Daylesford, whenever it was, I don't know, when was I there? 5 or 6 weeks ago now? I know. I always say it doesn't feel like that long ago, but it actually does feel like that long ago. Some of the people that I had sessions with there were saying to me things along those lines like, yes, things are important for other people, and that's entirely true, but there's also things that are important for you, and it's okay for you to make space for them, and da-da-da-da-da. And, you know, again, I was just kind of like listening, not really taking it in. Like, I get it. I've heard it a million times. I didn't take it in. So what was it that caused me to take it in 2 weeks ago? I think that's what we need to have a look at here. And I can absolutely tell you what it was. It was all so real and so important and such a driver for me to get this house where I'm going, right? To get this next house. It just became crystal clear in my mind that I need to do it. I started to see opportunities where I hadn't seen them before. I thought that there was, only a fixed pathway for me to do it, and that was, I could have some influence over that, but certainly not all of the influence, right? And that kind of left me in limbo between, okay, I can kind of do some things over here, but at the end of the day, really, I can't, I'm helpless, right? So I was in that. But anyway, what ended up shifting for me was it just became so important to me to get this new house. It just suddenly became a priority. And it wasn't that it wasn't a priority before, but something else happened. And the something else was I was telling somebody about how I'm manifesting this next house, and I was telling them about what was going on and how I was going to be doing it and all those kinds of things, and I just heard myself say the same story again for, I don't know, maybe the 50th time, and I just got sick of the sound of my own voice, and I was just like, oh my gosh, enough already. stop. Like, I'm done with this story. I just really got over myself as I heard it coming out of my mouth. And yeah, that's really what changed everything. I just couldn't, it was like I'd been a broken record on repeat, and something just changed, and something was like, no, we're going to do something about this. And so that's really what it was. It wasn't about somebody guiding me and saying, what if you just started looking after yourself a bit, or what if you just tried to do this? It wasn't about that. I heard that, I knew that. It just wasn't resonating. The thing that made it resonate was I had to do it in my own time. I had to discover it in my own time. And for me, that was hearing myself say it out loud all over again and getting bored of myself and frustrated with myself of saying it. And then the other thing too was I realized I bought a wall planner off Amazon, right? Because as part of my learning to live with neurodivergence kind of era that I'm in at the moment, I'm experimenting with a whole lot of stuff. And I thought that maybe, like, I seem to be doing really well with visual cues and things that require me to use my hands. So, like, case in point, I was trying to time myself doing things, and I just had a timer as a Google Chrome extension. I would set the timer, etc., etc. Alarm would go off. I'd just ignore it. But I now have a physical timer that I have to wind up, and when it goes off, I physically have to turn it off, and that seems to be really, really helpful. But anyway, I ended up getting this wall planner. Very simple, very clean, very open, very spacious, very minimal, but it's also quite colourful. They're not quite pastel colours, but they're not vibrant colours either. They're just nice, calm shades, right? So it's like got, January, February, March up the top, and then it just goes down in 4 rows. But the colours are kind of like a soft pink, then a soft orange, then a soft lemon, then a soft lime, then a soft mint, then a soft teal. You get the idea. And my intention with this planner is to give myself more visual cues, but for the business, right? So I know we've got so many areas of our life. Like I could do it for my new home. I could do it for financial safety. I could do it for health and wellness. I could do it for my spiritual practices, but it happens to be for the business. That's what I want to have a play with, just see how it goes. Now, very interesting, because I have found myself doing one of two things. First off, when I caught myself saying this story for the billionth time about how one day it's going to happen, this house, and how, like, I've done all the things that I can do, and now I'm just waiting on all these other people to do their things, and I don't know how long that's going to take, and all of this, right? I was looking at this wall planner that only arrived the other day, by the way. Stuck it up on the wall with my blue tack. And I was looking at that, and I thought to myself, holy smoke, I have been, like, in air quotes, manifesting this new place since pretty much the first quarter of this year. That was when I first gave myself permission to even start thinking about it. And it's taken me that long to get, well, I'm going to say the courage up to do it, because I'm not the only one that's affected by it, right? It affects somebody else too when I get this new house. And that has been weighing on me a lot, and it's been not slowing me down, or that's not what I want to say, but it's certainly been like a massive factor in my traction, right? If it was just me, I would have been in that house 6 months ago, but it's not. So there's moving parts. And I was looking at that calendar, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, like, when's it going to end? Like, you can't keep going like this. You don't want to be sitting here next year looking at your 2027 yearly planner in the same position that you are now, waiting on, I don't know, other things to happen, right? So yeah, I know I said that there were two things. I've just forgotten the other. So, but anyway, I really just got sick of the sound of my own voice. And then the story I mean by that. And really it was the reality of this. Oh yeah, this is the second thing. And I've noticed since I've had the planner that my eyes keep going to March now. Maybe that's got no significance at all. Maybe it has a lot of significance. When I think about it, I think it's intuitive. I'm going to roll with that. I'm going to allow myself to be led by the intuition, which then gets me to the place of, okay, serious now. What are we going to be doing? It's serious. It's happening. March is the month. Intuitively speaking, March is the month that it's all happening. I guess we'll have to wait and see, won't we? We'll be listening to future episodes of the podcast and it'll be very interesting to see what's happening. Anyway, but what does this mean for the business, right? Especially given that the business is in a state of transition at the moment, but not only transition, transformation, right? The business is, for me, it's expanding in a really exciting new direction. So how do I balance that as a single woman, 50 plus, doing this with real life stuff over here? Because as you know yourself, like houses are a big deal, right? And when all the financial responsibility is on you, kind of also a big deal. Yep. And when you're in private practice running your own business, also a big deal. So a lot going on. And here's what is happening, right? And I'm sharing this because maybe you're thinking to yourself, oh, it's not my situation right now. But you never know. Might be your situation in the future. You never know what's going to happen 12 months, 18 months, 5 years, 10 years down the track. And so I want to talk you through what I'm doing to make it happen and do it in a way where I'm actually feeling quite at ease. I had anticipated I was going to feel stressed and pressured and all of the things, but actually no. What I've observed, it's been a very, 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 since this experiment started 2 weeks ago, metacognition has been huge. Being able to, I guess, watch my thoughts as they're happening or watch my thoughts like moments after they've happened, that has been huge for me. Yeah. And so anyway, what I realized was, okay, we're updating systems and processes behind the scenes over here in my business right now to reflect these changes of new direction. And as part of that, I need to also look at how I want to do my planning for next year and what I'm linking that to, why that's so important for me, and also simplifying it. And that's why you heard me say, 2 or 3 episodes ago that I'm closing down a lot of the things that I have been offering. And I'm going all in with just a few things. And I've decided that the simplest, most straightforward thing for me to do, if I really want to have a business that I'm not only giving to, but that gives back to me, it needs to be a better exchange. And so, or a different exchange now, because again, the ebb and flow of energy, right? And so at the moment I'm giving a lot because I have to look after it. But anyway, what I'm hearing from my business is, simple is going to be the way forward for me now, which in the past may have been very difficult because of how I was operating and how I was seeing myself as a practitioner with a business, right? In the past, my background, my experiences, my stories, past traumas and things like that had caused me to without realizing it, because it starts so young, adopting people pleasing as one of my default strategies for surviving life, and how that can show up in my business, how it has showed up in my business for sure in the past, is not always honoring boundaries. It's also shown up by over delivering, but not in. Okay, let me clarify that, because I know when I say over delivering, some people have a different understanding of what I mean by that. There's over delivering and then there's over giving. Okay, over delivering is when you, well, surprise and delight someone, right? It's like if you're going to give them something, maybe you're doing a course, right? And maybe you normally might give a video recording and a workbook, right? But maybe an example of over delivering with there might be that you also throw in, I don't know, 2 office hours calls or something that they're not expecting, and they're one-on-one with you, and it's, to help them with whatever they're struggling with your course or something, right? That's over delivering. But over giving, that's when you give more and you give more and you give more because you care about them and you want them to have a really good outcome. You want them to be successful and you want to do all of those things. But at the same time, you're kind of over giving, realizing it or not, at your own expense. It can take time away from you and your family. It can take time away from your weekend. It can cost you money. It can, so much. So, yeah. And the other thing that people-pleasing behavior, that trauma response can do is it can, not only with the boundaries and the overgiving, it can also, I guess, mess with your ability to really honor yourself and look after yourself, because when you're in that frame of mind, and again, you don't realize it, right? You don't realize it until you're out of it or you're in the process of getting out of it. You just don't realize it. But you're constantly giving. You start to feel tired. You lose time, all those kinds of things. And you can end up doing things like more content creation, more, I'll just make another checklist. I'll just make another workbook. I'll just make this. I'll just make that more. That's what I mean, right? And it can feel chaotic because those things aren't planned. When you're operating from a trauma response, you're doing those things on the fly in and around other commitments that you've got. And it can keep you up at night. It can get you up early in the morning, but it can also take your focus away from the things that you need to be doing to give yourself safety and security in your business, because you're now prioritizing pleasing someone else and regulating their emotions, which you have no business doing, by the way. Like, speaking from experience here, this was one of my lessons, right? When I was growing up, I just learned. And again, it was just never questioned it because it becomes your identity, right? Especially when it's from such a young age. But learning how to, I'm not saying I did or could regulate everybody else's emotions around me, but it was certainly something that I was very aware of and very focused on how other people were feeling, because for me, how other people felt used to determine how I would feel, right? So even if, like, I can remember being so excited that I got engaged. This was my first husband. I was so excited that I got engaged. And I came home and I was like, I was just giddy in love, giddy with excitement. It was going to be the first wedding in the family. I was over the moon. And I came home and, my mum was in a really bad mood. And I waited until, things had kind of settled down. Then she asked me how my day was. And I felt really guilty telling her that I got engaged. So I didn't tell her that I got engaged because I didn't feel like it was fair on her if I was feeling happy. See what I mean? This is how it plays out, and you don't even realize it because you're not even aware, right? It's that 4 levels of consciousness again. You can't, you can't, when you're at a certain level, maybe whatever, you're at a certain level, you cannot understand what people are talking about when they're at levels you haven't experienced yet. It just makes no sense to you. You don't get it. It seems irrelevant. You dismiss it, right? Anyway, so this shows up in your business by doing things like, I don't know, not using your cancellation policy maybe, or raising a fee, but then going overtime with your clients because you want to make sure that they feel like they're getting value and all those kinds of things. Yep. So that's what it can look like. Anyway, I no longer do that. This is something I'm acutely aware of now. And this awareness for me, the experience of the awareness for me, I should say, has enabled me to have shifts in the way that I work, in the way that I show up, why I show up, why I do what I do, all of those kinds of things. And the simplification of the business moving forward is more around, you don't have to be creating things. You don't have to be making more stuff. You don't have to be, flexing over here, there, and everywhere. This is about peeling things back and focusing on refining the things that work, and really leaning more into that now. And so, that's what has been going on. And as a result of that, the things that I have been refining are working better than ever. I'm experiencing results I once used to dream of. It's creating, I guess I'm saying space because I'm not physically doing as much, but also mentally I'm not doing as much. I'm not mentally anticipating, trying to get ahead of things, rushing, all of that. So there's space now mentally, there's space now in my mind, there's space now emotionally, there's space in the diary, there's space everywhere. And I noticed that my responses to things that would normally trigger me have changed. I'm noticing in the moment that my mind wants to flick into autopilot, and I hear the stories that I used to tell myself, but I'm noticing I'm not feeling the anxiety in my body, which then makes me notice more the incongruence between, here's the thought that's on repeat, that's been on repeat for decades, but I'm no longer feeling it in my body. That incongruence then makes me look at, okay, things are shifting for me here. And very interesting that my brain, although my brain is I know this isn't the story that you're running now, but this is what we've got, it needs to catch up to my body. I'm noticing that my body, it's so weird. My body is actually the better indicator than the self-talk of where I am. And I always thought, because of all the training in psychology, 14 years of that, all the research, all the experiments, all the lab reports, all of the things. Sorry, I just whacked my phone because I'm moving my hands around while I'm talking to you and you're not even here. it was like really drummed into us that, everything happens in the mind and everything happens in the brain and everything's cognition and all of this. But I have to be honest with you and say, like, no. For me, it hasn't been fix your thoughts and the body will follow. For me, it's been about shift who you are, shift how you see yourself, shift your identity, and your body will follow, and then your thoughts will follow. And I just think that that is so interesting. So yeah, it's all kind of happening in reverse order. But as the identity shifts and the body responses shift, so too does what I'm focusing on. And that's where, like, the refining and the simplifying and just making sure that I'm doing the things that, yes, feel good, but also, I guess, work. I've got the evidence that they work without starting new things all of the time. So I'm off that hamster wheel. And as I said, this is creating the space, but it all came from this experiment, as I said, that I started 2 weeks ago. Well, today's day 15, and I'm almost at the point now. I mean, I did do it this morning. However, I noticed that it's getting sort of shorter and shorter and shorter, my process. So I'm wondering if maybe I want to visit that because, yeah, in the beginning it was longer, but maybe it's just happening because I'm becoming more proficient and I'm getting more aligned with who I'm becoming, right? It's very, very much an interesting space to be in because it allows you to kind of, it's like you're still you and you're still who you are, but at the same time, there's the metacognition that allows you to almost see yourself in real time from a different perspective where you're not emotionally enmeshed in what's happening. So, yeah, it's very interesting. And it brings me to something that I wanted to talk about today, which is, there was a question in the community recently around fees, right? And, they were asking, I would love it, for anyone who feels comfortable. Would you mind sharing your fees with me? Let me know if you're in ACA or PACFA and what your level is and all of the things and blah, blah, blah. Right? I want to get a sense of the general range. Well, I mean, it's a moot point. Some of the comments were, people actually sharing what they charge. Totally fine. People are sharing their rates, but I guess like the thing that I still see happening is when we're talking about money, I believe what we're really talking about is safety. I think what we're really talking about is security, but nobody will say it. I think when we're talking about fees, we're talking about how we see ourselves. We're talking about our identity. We're talking about our stories. We're just not saying it. We're saying, what do you charge? Or we set our fees from all of those kinds of places. And maybe you know that it's happening, maybe you don't, right? Or when we ask people like, what are you charging and what's your qualification and how many years and what's your experience and things like that, I think what we're really doing is perhaps looking for permission. We're looking for it to be okay for us to be charging something. Your fees are personal to you. They have nothing to do with anybody else. It's irrelevant to your safety what someone else is charging. It's irrelevant to your financial safety whether she's got a practice down the road from you in the same niche. It's irrelevant whether she's got a PhD or a diploma. it's relevant whether she's with Pac4ACA or the VMHPAA or whoever you're with. None of that has anything to do with you. The right fee for you is going to be the fee that brings you, I say financial safety, right? Because that's how I feel it. That's how I experience it, right? Because when the money's not there, then I don't feel safe, right? So I'm just assuming, imagining perhaps that might be what's going on for many of you too. I'm not sure. Don't want to put words in your mouth or make grand generalizations over here, but I think it really is about making sure that you've got that financial security or financial stability. Those things give you financial safety. That's what's at the bottom of this. And what gives you a physical, bodily, somatic, energetic, cognitive sense of safety is going to be different to what gives me that same feeling. Okay? Everybody is very, very different. And our perceptions of safety are determined and driven by us, our stories, our experiences, our personalities, all of the things. Are there going to be, general guidelines here, there, and everywhere about fees? Yeah, there have to be, because, not everybody's like us. Not everybody is interested in doing the bigger work, right? They're not. They're just like, give me the strategy. And they will look at posts like this and they're going to add them all up. They're going to go, oh, well, on average, most people with my experience and my qualifications charge this, and they're going to settle on that. And guess what? It's going to feel SH1T, because maybe they know they're meant for more. Maybe it feels like they're undercharging. Maybe it feels like, I don't know, they're not going to get any clients if they charge it. Maybe it feels like, I don't know, maybe it's making them feel not confident because they actually don't know what somebody else's thinking was that went into the fee in the first place. Now they're just taking it and putting it into their own business. So how can you have confidence? That's like when people copy my stuff, right? Now this happens a lot. People copy my stuff. They'll grab one of my free things, or maybe they've worked with me before. Sure as eggs, it turns up somewhere else and someone's friggin' selling it, or giving it to their clients. And I know this because it's crossed my path. Like a boomerang, it comes back to me. And do you know, there have even been times when clients have said, yes, I've worked with this person before to get help with my business, and yeah, I've done that. I've got that plan over there. I've got that marketing strategy over there. And I say, great, send it over so I can have a look. My own stuff's come back to me still in my brand colors and my fonts. Right? I mean, not only copying, it's like theft, right? Taking somebody else's stuff, passing it off as your own. But the thing is that even though they might have that strategy, they don't understand how I arrived at it. They don't understand the thought process. They don't understand the intention behind it. They don't understand the strategy behind it. But they've taken it and, they made a copy and they put their own logo on it. Now they're selling it on their Etsy store. So annoying. But anyway, as their own. And they're using it with their clients. But because they don't have that understanding of everything that went into it, it doesn't work because they can't teach it. Do you see what I'm saying? And so it doesn't work for their client, who ends up coming to me. And then I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually my thing over here. And then when I get to explain it to them, all of a sudden, boom, it makes sense, and off they trot and they're good to go, right? It's the same with when you like just not take a fee, but when you look at what somebody else is charging financially for their service, and you just say, okay, then, well, if that's what everyone in my area is charging for online telehealth, whatever it is, then I'll just charge that too. That has a very different level of effectiveness. It has a very different impact on your sense of safety because it didn't come from you. Okay? You don't have to look for permission externally. I think you already know what fee would give you that peace of mind. You just have to get okay with actually doing it. It's hard to do if you've got stuff going on with how you see yourself, how you see your value, stories that you listen to, whatever you focus on, you're going to see more of. If it's not helpful for you to be listening to all those other stories because you're finding that they're causing you to doubt yourself, stop listening to them. Remove yourself from that community or online space, right? If you have a supervisor that maybe has her own issues around fees, right? Which so many supervisors do, okay? I'm a supervisor too. I certainly had my own issues around fees, but some supervisors have told their clients that it's not okay to charge more than they do. And I think that that's not okay. I don't think that helps you as a woman in business who gives so much of yourself, who is here because you're born to help other people. I don't think it's very good guidance from someone who you're meant to be respecting and looking up to and following the guidance to be telling you not to charge more than them, but it happens. And then especially when that supervisor, I think, has her own issues going on, because guess what? She's only charging $100 a session. Doesn't make any sense, right? Get a different supervisor. You need to be in spaces around other women who show you what's possible, who show you what your potential is, who show you you can do it, who show you that, through their actions, it's possible for you too, right? Yeah. I think exposing yourself to spaces where there are successful women in business is worth its weight in gold, because you start to hear different stories and you can then start to take some of those on, but also see what's possible. And that happens because of things like the reticular activating system, right? Is this little part of our brain that says, hey, if you believe this thing, I'll bring you more. That's, I'll bring you more from the environment. I'll bring you more from the world around you that supports that. So when you first move into these spaces and you start being around other successful women and you start to see, oh my gosh, all these women over here are charging this, or all these women over here work out their fee this way, or all these women over here run a business like this, the more you start to expose yourself to that, it's the repetition that starts to create space for new beliefs to come through. It's very powerful, very helpful, very important, really helps you get out of your own way by starting to think, okay, maybe I can do this. This is identity stuff, right? Part of identity stuff. And it's really, if you can start to think about, the version of you that's already there, the version of you deep inside you that's already there, and you allow yourself to listen and implement from that space, you watch what becomes possible for you. Things are going to become possible that you didn't even imagine would be possible for you. And it requires time because self-trust takes time, all of those kinds of things. But you evolve as you grow, as you start to implement guidance that comes through, even if it's a micro step once a day, right? And you start to see a result. And so that trust with yourself gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And so the noise, the chatter that you listen to, that doesn't help you, that actually holds you back, becomes less and less and less. And as your identity shifts and evolves and grows and strengthens, and your confidence improves and grows and strengthens, you find yourself, hearing the stories and seeing the patterns and hearing examples of the behaviors and things like that other people are doing. And you notice, that's interesting. You notice that you aren't, as I was saying before, like you're just not emotionally meshed in it anymore. You start to notice for yourself a sense of, we talk about feeling calm, right? One of ChatGPT's favorite, like I can always tell if somebody's used ChatGPT to make their freebie or to write their website copy, because one of his favorite phrases is, calm and clarity, or calm, clarity and confidence, but it really is experiencing it and not saying, okay, I set the intention today to feel calm and grounded and have the clarity and feel like, no, you experience it because something's shifted for you at that identity level. It's very, 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 very powerful work. But it comes back to when it's things like setting your fees. I believe what you want to charge. The value is determined not by the dollar that you set. The value is not determined by your qualification. The value is not determined by how many years of experience you've got. The value is not determined by whether or not you're a good person or whether or not you're flexing your boundaries, right? It's not determined by any of that. The value is determined by the client. It's not even in your hands. The value is determined by the client. They are the ones that will let you know what the value is for them. But here's the thing. When you know your own value, which you already do, but when you start to better embody that, everything changes. The way you talk about what you offer changes. The way you talk to potential clients changes. The copy on your website changes. The way you show up changes because your energy changes, right? All of that changes. And so it's not possible for your business not to change, right? Your bookings will change. The number of bookings will change. The diary will shape shift, right? I know from experience. When I went through a big identity shift, 10 years ago, I think it was now, it was the last kind of big one, the last kind of like blip on the radar. That's not the right thing. In my mind, I'm seeing like a EEG, where it like spikes up. That's what the last noticeable time I had a big identity shift, that's what it was like for me. Prior to that, I'd been, operating from anxiety, I guess, and insecurity financially. But when that identity shift happened, everything started to change. My messaging changed, how I showed up changed, the things I was doing changed, the feed changed, among other things. My processes changed. I started using my strategies more and fully, right? Not half winging it anymore, but actually using the whole entire thing from beginning to end. And with that identity shift, my income shifted. The clients that I started to attract shifted in terms of what they were presenting with, what they were asking for help with, the level of motivation, the level of commitment, the results they were getting started to shift. Like everything started to shift. The diary, as I said a moment ago, shifted. And I freaked out in the beginning because my story was high volume because I was getting $80 an hour with a PhD, and that stage 10 years of experience. So I had to have bookings. And you've heard about this before. My diary at those medical clinics was booked, fully booked, sometimes 5.5 or 6 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on 50-minute back-to-back appointments. No lunch break. Because you figure out pretty quick that you're going to have a lot of no-shows and cancellations, and you can't afford to say, oh, well, I'm just going to take 12 till 1 for my lunch. Because if you've got a day of high no-shows and cancellations and you're not getting paid for them, which you don't at a bulk billing medical clinic, right? You might have just cost yourself the one person who was going to show up that day. So you learn to have your lunch break when people don't turn up for their appointments, right? So it sounds like, oh gosh, how can you see so many clients in a day? But you never see all those clients because, so many of them just don't turn up. But anyway, so I was used to having, and my brain was used to seeing, a diary that was chock full of bookings. So when I had this big identity shift 10 years ago, and that changed, I noticed like a freak out. I was starting to panic because my brain was saying, well, hang on, you don't have even half now. But then the other part of me was saying, well, hang on, making twice as much in revenue and you're working half the hours. Do you see? So there's a transition that happens. It's like when you're manifesting, right? You set an intention and you co-create. You say, I understand that my job is not how I'm going to get this next house, in my case, of mine, but my job is to be focused on it, to be in the vibration of calling it in, to be open to seeing opportunities for getting it that I might not normally see because I'm like blind to them or whatever. And I know that the house is going to come to me at the right time, in the right way, in the highest good of myself, of the seller, of the real estate agent, of everybody else that's connected to this, right? You do that. But while you're manifesting, sometimes it can feel like, man, I'm doing the things. I'm expressing gratitude. I'm blessing my money. I'm using my cards. I'm journaling. I'm leveling up my business. I'm, doing all of these things. Where are my results? Get frustrated. Wonder if it's working. You say, do you know what? It's not working. I'm going to give up. I quit. I'm out. I'll just resign myself to the fact that this is how things are going to be for me. Well, I'm not that person. You've always got a choice. But also I know, and there is so much research about this, and I know like you probably learned about this as well when you were studying, but just in case you didn't, there's a lot of research that actually demonstrates clinically that a lot of people give up. They hit pause. They say, I'm not going to do it. They change direction moments before the success would have happened. It's very interesting. So we sometimes think, just getting back to what I was saying, we sometimes think, well, it should be happening now because I'm doing all of the things. Where's my result? It should be happening now. It's not working. But what's really going on is there's a lag. And there has to be, because other things need to happen. People need to find you. It's like when we're talking about getting new clients, right? People will say to me, oh, Brooklyn, I've got a website and, I've gone and done my Psychology Today profile and I've got a niche, like you said, and, blah, blah, blah. And it's been 6 months now and it's still not working. So I'm out. I quit. I'm hitting pause on this because it's just not working. It's just not going anywhere. I can't keep putting myself through it. That can happen for people. Going through that experience can happen for people. Absolutely, it can. And it will happen for all kinds of different reasons. Sometimes it's going to happen because people will have put their heart and soul into doing those strategies, but maybe they don't realize that there's going to be a lag. The lag in this case happens because, in marketing, there's this thing called a funnel. I like to call it a pathway or a journey, but, clients go through like they've never even heard of you. You're not even on their radar. And then somehow, some way, you do get onto their radar. So now they are aware of you. That's usually what your website, Psychology Today, Google My Business is for, right? They're called very broad marketing campaigns, right? Very broad. And then maybe like 100 people are now they're now aware of you. Well, of those 100 people, maybe 75 are going to actually take time to check you out. So they might come over to the website, for example. So they're checking you out and like, okay, this sounds interesting. And then maybe 25 of those people will say, this freebie looks all right. I'm going to download this freebie. Whatever your freebie is, right? Now, I don't know, maybe it's something to download. My podcast is a freebie, right? So they can listen to my freebie podcast, right? All good. Whatever it is, they're going to do the thing because there's something there that's causing that person to be a little bit interested. And then of those 25 people who've expressed an interest, and maybe even some of them are on your email list now and they're starting to get your emails and everything. Of those 25 people, maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 might be interested in actually working with you. And so those 5 or 6 people might check you out a little bit more and they might download another thing or listen to another thing or follow you over here or whatever it is. They're going to be in your world for a little while, okay? They're checking you out. They're making sure that they can trust you, right, with this very big thing for them, whatever that very big thing might be, their trauma or their relationship or their children, like whatever it is. They need time to feel like you're their person, right? Maybe you weren't their person 12 months ago. They didn't know you 12 months ago. Maybe they're not going to be your person 12 months from now. But in this moment right here, yeah, maybe you are. And so of those maybe 5 or 6 people, 2 or 3 are going to take an action, right? This is the last step on the journey. And that action is usually going to be something like, depending on what your model is and what you offer, there's going to be some kind of exchange happening here. It will be either you get on a discovery call and then they join your program, book in for the session, enroll in your course, buy your package, like whatever it is, right? Or they're going to say, do you know what? I think I still just need a little bit more time, meaning they need more time in your world. Now, that's a pathway. But the problem is that sometimes we think, well, I've got the Psychology Today profile on the website and my niche, but it's still not working, so I'm going to stop doing it. No, you can't. I mean, you can, but you can go from, I don't know, like a person who's never heard of you ever in their whole entire life, finding your website and then booking in. Is that going to happen? It can, and it has. Is it common? No, because people need time to get to know you. And that's why it's very important that you have those other steps, right, in your funnel, on your pathway, that give them a chance to get to know you. And getting to know you looks like, I don't know, whatever you're doing. Maybe you're on Instagram, or maybe you're on Facebook, or maybe it's just your email list and you don't use social media in your practice, like many practices don't now. You just focus on maybe blogging on your website, or it's a podcast like here, or it's a YouTube channel. Like, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, but there's a way, is what I'm saying, that they can spend time with you. And that is so important. And then what will usually happen is, the one or two that needed a little bit more time, take the time. And it might be a few months, it might be 6 months, it might be a year, it might be 3 years. And then they are ready. It's not a reflection on you. And it's certainly, like, the absence of a result is not an absence of clients. It's not an absence of success. It's not an absence of things working out for you, right? You want to see bookings in the diary. And so you're saying, if I don't have a booking in the diary, it's not working. That's not true. If you hit pause now, what's going to happen to all those people that you don't know are on the journey to working with you? What's going to happen to all of them? And where are they going to go? You worked hard to get that website going. You worked hard to write and rewrite the Psychology Today profile, to find your niche, to do your messaging, to make the freebie. You worked really hard to do all of those things. And now people are finding them, and they're starting to move through your pathway. You don't know, if you hit pause now, you don't know that somebody was going to book tomorrow. Just because nobody booked last week, or maybe, no one's booked yet. Why are you making it mean that no one's ever going to book, and therefore you should just give up? You should just quit. Too hard. Other things are more meaningful to me now. Other things are more of a priority for me now. I'm just going to take a break. What's going to happen is those people, you don't know how many there are. If you've had a website, for example, I'm just saying 6 months, right? But if you've had a website for 6 months and your Psychology Today profile, hopefully there's things going on there and you're refining and doing all of that, right? Because, we should be seeing inquiries coming through, I would say, if everything's set up quickly, within the first 2 months, in my experience, that's very reasonable. I do everything in my business. I teach the women that I work with. It's 90-day cycles. Put the website up, leave it alone for 90 days. Then we will go and have a look at it together and see what's working, what's not. Put the freebie up for 90 days. Then we'll come back and look at it, see what's working, what's not. Do your marketing, whatever you want that to look like, your email, your blog, your Facebook, whatever. Do it for 90 days. Let's come back, see what it looks like. You can't just say, I've had my website 6 months, but actually you gave it a full facelift 4 weeks ago and changed your niche and changed your branding, and then say, so it's not working. No. But anyway, as I was saying, all those people that have come down the pathway, you don't know that they're there, but they're on the journey. They're watching you. You don't know. Even me, I call it my silent audience. A lot of the people that work with me have been in my world for a long time. And some of the names I know, but also a lot of them I don't know. They can come to an inquiry call with me, and they will talk with me about, my puppy, who I can't say his name because he's here, and he's actually been very good this morning because he's learning, which is awesome. And they'll ask me about moving house and things like that. It's like they know this stuff about me and they feel connected to me, and that's so beautiful. But at the same time, I don't know them because I don't know who's listening to my podcast, for example. I don't know who's visited my website. I don't know who's watching what I'm saying, what I'm talking about, what I'm sharing on my Facebook. I don't know. But they will come to me and they will tell me all of this stuff, which tells me that they've been on a pathway. And now it's the time that they're at this stage and they're either pretty serious about doing something, or they've already decided that now's the time that they do want to do something and they just really want to know how to get started. But if I just stopped because I thought, it's not working, then all those people that I don't know are there that are on the way to becoming my clients, all of a sudden the content dries up because I'm not posting anymore. The emails stop because I've hit pause. There's one lonely, solitary freebie on the website. There's nothing else for them to get and use while they're waiting for me to make a return, whenever that might be. They don't even know if I'm coming back or where I've gone because I haven't announced anything. And when you're talking about providing safe spaces for your clients, you've actually just done the opposite. Now they're not feeling safe with you because you can up and leave. And so now the trust is gone. The connection is lost. The rapport is broken. And they're going to go and maybe look for the next best person because actually you were their best person. Now they're going to go and try and find the next best person to help them. And if that person has a book now button on their website, they're going to end up working with them. And because they're already primed, by that I mean that client that you've just lost was already ready to work with you. In their mind, it's done, it's happening, we're getting that appointment or we're booking that discovery call. That's where they're at. They're not going to go backwards from that. That's the energy and that's the space that they're in now. So they're just going to go over and find the next best practitioner to work with, the next best practice, the next best therapist, social worker, psychologist, counselor. And do you know what? They're going to fly through that person's funnel very quickly because they're going to be feeling let down, but also like there's now this unmet need. And they're very aware that they want help now. So they're going to go and Google and they're going to come across somebody's website that they've never heard of before. Now they're on that person's website, they're aware of them. Then maybe they're going to have a quick look around. If that person's got a free thing, probably grab it. Maybe not. Probably grab it. Because they're already primed for an appointment and a booking, they're probably going to look at it and go, yeah, that's fine. You know, this should do, this should hit the spot. They're going to get that person's emails pretty much straight away. So now that person's starting to show up more and more and more. And then that person's got a really easy way of getting started. They're going to go and book that discovery call, just have a check-in, have a chat, make sure that that person is kind of like you or has as many of the qualities that they were looking for or looking forward to experiencing with you that you have. And if that person can meet most of those things, that client that was going to work with you, who really wanted to work with you, is going to go and work with that other practice over there. So that's what I mean. Some people will fly through your funnel. Others take time. You hitting pause on your practice means you've lost now potentially tens of people, maybe hundreds of people who are in your funnel, many of whom may have become potential clients. So yeah, it all comes back to, I guess, the stories we tell ourselves, our expectations, our beliefs, the ideas that we run. And who we have to be in order to see the results that we really, really want to be seeing and experiencing in our private practice, in order to give us those things that we're really, really wanting to experience. And I think probably, as I see it at this moment, in a way, it kind of reminds me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, how we've got like the safety and security. You can't have the love and belonging and all the other things without that foundation of the safety and security. So I kind of think like, how are you going to go and give your best at work and receive the best without safety and security, right? And that comes from embodiment. Having an understanding of the version of you that has success in the business, however you define it, and connecting with that understanding, okay, how's she doing it differently to me? How am I going to show up? What are the things? Who do I need to be? Strategy is part of the process of creating a successful private practice, whether it's your fees, whether it's you pivoting your business, changing your niche, releasing some of your products and services, right? Identity is the main part. The identity determines the actions that you take, which then determine the results that you get. If you don't see yourself as valuable, if you don't see yourself as worthy or good enough, if you don't see yourself as capable, if you just want this successful practice, but you don't really believe you can, or your mind is focusing on, I don't have a booking, I don't have an inquiry, it's focusing on the I don'ts. It's not focusing on growth opportunities. It's not focusing on, what do I need to learn here? Is it a skill? Is it a belief? What do I need to shift? Like, what's happening? Those kinds of things determine your results and, determine your results, but also determine your experience around energy. Is it easy? Is it hard? Is it light? Is it enjoyable? Is it fun? Is it something I look forward to doing? All those kinds of things. It's identity. And as I'm doing more and more and more around this, I'm developing that, let's just call it an identity protocol. I'm developing this in the background as I'm working through it myself, so that I've got something that I can share with the women that I work with inside Practice Momentum, because this is so important. It's so important. And, identity, that's like probably 10 episodes minimum. There's so much that I could share with you about what it is, how it's created, how you create it, what it looks like, how you experience it, how it works, how it doesn't work, the push and pull. So much. But that's where it starts. So at the start of this episode, I was talking to you about, shifts and fees. And fees is just a metaphor, right? It's just an example. What I want you to take away from this is trust yourself. You already know what, in terms of fees, you already know what to charge. In terms of your service, you already know what you want to offer. In terms of how you want to share your message, you already know. The reason you're getting tripped up is because you're starting to listen to the chatter. You're starting to listen to everybody else's stories, and you're allowing yourself to enroll in them. And their stories have no place in your business. You get to author your own story of your own journey in your private practice, okay? That's it. So powerful. Maybe start thinking about what needs to be let go of, all right? And I don't mean your dream of a business, but think about what needs to what needs to be let go of. And this is going to be hard because you're going to have to acknowledge what your part in this has been. So, the results that you see in your business are a manifestation of your past thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So if you don't have clients right now, what's led to that in terms of what were you doing or not doing? Okay, in terms of your actions, for example. I had a website, but I've taken it down and republished it 4 times in 6 months. That's probably had something to do with it. Okay, I've changed my niche twice. I've changed my messaging 6 times. I have a freebie, but they can just go and download it off my iCloud. They don't have to give me an email address. I don't have an email sequence because it was too hard, and I don't see why I should have to, and I just want to do the work, and it's not fair. And why is there always more stuff to do? Like, you might have to acknowledge that, hey, my mindset perhaps hasn't been that great, right? But those things aren't acknowledgements of failure. They're not acknowledgements of you sort of, I don't know, it's not about berating yourself or being negative or anything like that. What it is when you can acknowledge them, you can do something about it. But while you're going to externalize everything and put yourself in a position where you don't have any power, you don't have any influence, you don't have any control, you're throwing your hands up in the air going, I've done everything and it's still not working, nothing's going to change for you. To get things to change, it's very important that you can lean into, allow yourself to reframe or shift the story that maybe you're telling yourself about where you should have been by now, what a result is, right? Maybe instead of a result being a booking, maybe a result is that there's a pathway now and you trust that people are on it, right? Those kinds of things. When you can do that, that's called growth mindset, right? We all know it. We've all seen the books and the Instagram posts about growth mindset, but this is what it actually looks like. It's not easy. It's not easy to admit that there's other ways of doing things, and maybe you just took a path that doesn't work for you or your business or your clients, right? That's hard to do. It is hard to do. And it's also very hard to ask for help because we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be at a certain point or, to have a certain thing at a certain time. So we don't want to ask for help. Or there's pride, or there's guilt, or there's shame. Or maybe, new people started after us and they're getting faster results. And so now we're embarrassed and we don't want to ask a question because we're saying a story about, well, because they started after me, I should be further ahead. I should be ahead of them. Therefore, because that hasn't happened, I'm not great. I'm failing. It's not working, right? You know what I mean? When the reality is, in my experience, especially, for example, like Practice Momentum, right? Clients who get the quickest results, the fastest results, they're in touch with me like regularly. Asking questions. Can you have a look at this? Am I on the right track with that? What do you think about this? What am I not seeing here? Is there a missed opportunity that I'm not aware of? Do you have any ideas on this? Can you help me with that? Like, that regularly, help me. They want to learn. They want to know. They're like all in. It's like with counseling, right? Clients who attend all of the appointments get better results. Clients who implement get better results. So if you're noticing, like, whatever you're doing in your practice, if you're not getting the results that you want, have a look. Have you been showing up? What's the energy been like? What's the identity been like? What's the mindset been like? And How have you been allowing yourself to receive support, right? Have you been, I don't know, well, I was just saying like a moment ago, have you been asking for guidance? Have you been asking for support, asking for help, using whatever, tools and strategies that are on offer? Have you been using those things or not, right? And how has using them or not contributed to the results that you're seeing today, right? All those kinds of things, very, very important. But as I was saying, at the end of the day, I believe it all starts with who you're being and who you want to be more of, who you want to become. That's identity. And it's through the embodiment of that you start to experience shifts, transformations that are really big and enjoyable, and they feel easy. They feel easy. And you notice, you come away from things and you notice, oh my gosh, I didn't get anxious. Oh my gosh, that comment on my post, or that email, or that client ghosted me, like, I just noticed now that didn't trigger me. You might think to yourself, right? The metacognition begins to happen. You become aware of your own evolution. And sometimes, the path we think we're going to take, the path that, in our 3D mind, in our world, in our awareness, we think we're going to go off in this direction over here, but sometimes we find ourselves going off in a completely different direction altogether, and that's it, right? That's a journey. That's part of it. And that's okay too. But it all has that foundation in who you are, the thoughts you have, the routines you have, the systems you use, the processes you use, how you feel about those things, how you, like, energy management is more important than time bloody management. Can we just get over it? Like, why is everybody banging on about time management and everything? Like, yes, you have to be able to set up your diary, sure. But what's the point if you don't manage your energy well, right? And managing your energy is a very personal thing. It's different for all of us. Some people, they manage their energy by going out to a festival, right? Or, I don't know, being around people, having brunch with friends. Like, oh my gosh, those things will be death to me. The way I recharge is by being alone. I need the space to decompress. It's how I recharge, by not being connected to the computer or my phone, by not being near tech, by just being submerged in warm water in the bath with a candle and a book and, I don't know, some nice music in the background. Heaven. But what I'm saying is, like, if you don't know how to manage your energy, it's pointless trying to set up a diary that's going to support you. You need to understand how your energy looks for you, and it's going to look different at different points in your life, at different life stages as well. Like, your energy is going to be different if you have a toddler versus if you have a teenager, versus if they've grown up and left home, versus if you're single, if you're married, like, all the things. Your energy is going to look different if you're neurodivergent, right? If you've got a chronic illness, all those things are going to affect it. But you understanding, I am the type of woman who experiences fluctuations in her energy and has built a business that honors that. That is an example of a very helpful opening reflection prompt, journaling prompt, that can begin to raise your awareness, expand your mind to what could be possible for you, right? It's big stuff, as you can hear, right? You're probably gathering like this is big stuff. But I think it's worthwhile speaking into. And, I just want to leave you with the idea that doing those things, understanding who you are, who you want to be, who you're becoming, implementing from that space, using tools that help you do that. Like, about me, I use a card deck or two in the morning before I start my day and a process and things like that. Like, I find that very, very helpful. That's not a waste of time, and that is not something that's unrelated to your business, right? I see you using those tools as one of your many business strategies, because me using my Wealthy Woman Oracle deck and now also incorporating my Animal Apothecary cards into that and processing and everything, that's a strategy that provides me with an abundance mindset right from the start of the day. So I head into my day with an abundance mindset, with a mindset of gratitude, with a mindset of being in service, with a mindset of, I'm here for it. But it also grounds me. It grounds me. It pulls me back into my body. It stops me from acting on impulse. It stops me from thinking about, the list of a million things I've got to do. And so it's incredibly important for me to continue to use this strategy, because my business responds better when I do, because I show up better when I do. So please don't think that the tools you use and the practices or the routines and rituals that you have don't count. Don't think that they're separate to the business. It's your business. You get to design a business that works with you, for you, through you. And using your tools isn't ever going to be the only strategy, but it can certainly be one of the strategies. Okay? And I think, as you know, like one of my philosophies for business or success in business is mind, business, spirit. It's that identity, how you see yourself, the self-talk, the beliefs, the personality, the attitude, the motivation, your resilience, like how quick do you give up? Where's your line in the sand? All those kinds of things. The business is really around the tactical and practical. It's around strategies and processes and all those kinds of things. And then the last one is spirit, which for me, yes, it's around using cards and journaling and connection and all those kinds of things to source or energy or spirit or Holy Spirit or whatever you want to call that, right? That we all have within us. But it's also for me, spirit, about, am I working in a way that's congruent with my purpose? Am I doing what I know I was born to do, right? If I left this world tomorrow, have I left it better than when I came in? And how do I know that? If I left tomorrow, would I be able to look back and say that was a life well lived? Like, I absolutely did what my soul was contracted to do while I was here for this like blink of an eye. I want to be able to, leave a legacy. Like, the spirit is about alignment. Did I spend my life living, working, studying, helping, experiencing things that aligned with who I am at a soul level? Or was I doing other things for other people, right? To survive, which I can totally relate to. Those kinds of things, mind, business, spirit, when you can pull all those three things together, I think that's when you have success in your business. And that's why we talk about it so much on this podcast. So I hope that this has given you something to think about. A point of reflection, perhaps. Maybe there's been something in here that you might want to journal on for yourself. And yeah, if you ever need anything, of course, just message me on Facebook. Easy. Or visit my website and send me a little message. Not hard, got a little chat thing on there. There's a little email, all the things, right? If you need me, there's help there. If you don't, amazing. Like, you're on your own path, and always trust that you're right where you need to be at that time. Okay? There's no expectation of being further ahead, feeling like we're behind, or anything like that. It just is what it is, and it is for a reason. And maybe we just aren't meant to know what that reason is right now. That's totally okay. That's what surrender is, right? Surrender is, I know what I want, I'm doing my part, but I also understand that there are other things at play that are going to influence what happens, what the outcome is. Okay? Just like me with my next home. Like, I know the traditional ways. I know I can go on to realestate.com and look for my home. I know when I'm in Daylesford in January, I can go to the area again and I can have a look around and stuff like that, right? But I have no idea actually how this house is going to come to me. I can only work with what I know. I can only take the steps I know to take. But that house could come to me. I might win it in a home lottery. I might, I don't know, there might be a probate from some aunt or uncle that I've never met. Might suddenly leave me, $1 million, and I might go and buy a house. Like, I've got no idea how this is going to play out. I can only do what I do, but I also trust that, it's going to happen when the time's right and in the way it needs to happen for me, and that other things maybe need to fall into place first that I'm not aware of. Okay? Kind of like your clients, they might be thinking, gee, I really need a grief and loss counsellor right now. What they don't know is that you've just registered the domain name and you've just got your GoDaddy website account and you're spending the weekend making the website, right? They don't know because they don't see it. They're just thinking, geez, I'm taking the steps. I'm on Google and I'm looking, but I haven't found the right grief and loss counsellor for me yet. I'll keep looking. Where else can I look? And they're trusting that at some point they're going to find you. But they're unaware that you're over here doing stuff. If they said, well, I think I'll just give up on my search because it clearly looks like it's not working, it's futile, I'll just figure it out on my own. And then the next day you hit publish on that website, they've missed out. That's what I'm saying, hitting pause on your practice. What does it mean for you? What does it mean for your clients? And also when you come back, when you come back, you're going to have to start all over again. And guess what? It's going to take another 90 days. It's not going to be, oh, I'm back, and the universe and the world just all know that I'm back and I'm good to go. Like, I didn't take my website down. I didn't take my Facebook business page down. I didn't do any of that. So yeah, where are all the clients that should have been coming through? No, they haven't come through because you did pause. You stopped doing the stuff. They've long gone. And no, there isn't anybody in your little pathway now. You've got to start all over again, which means we're going to have to freshen things up so that everything gets activated again in Google algorithms and Psychology Today algorithms and Facebook algorithms and Instagram algorithms. And you're going to feel like, I don't want to do this. I've already done it. Why do I have to do it again? It's not fair. I'm wasting time. Just give me another strategy. Maybe I'll do paid ads. That'll work. Well, your paid ad's going to still take time too, right? And if the website isn't converting, if the freebie isn't set up properly, if you're like, well, I've got a freebie, but you haven't followed the process and it doesn't actually your clients don't want it. Like, you will know if you've got a good freebie by how many downloads it gets. And we've spoken about this on previous episodes as well. So if you're going to be fixated on not changing it or not making a new one because you think it's good, then we've got a problem and you're going to stay stuck in your business. If you're just going to be like, I'm not changing it, I really like it, well, you're missing the point, because it's not about what you like, it's about what your clients want and need right now for where they are on their journey. And if you've had it up for 12 months and you've only had 10 downloads and 3 were from your sisters, that's your audience telling you they don't want it. They need something else. I know this because, I've got, like, as you heard, 65 freebies. Some of the things that I thought were like going to really just be so helpful, so useful, so downloaded, never got a look in. Things I put together because also I thought that they were going to be helpful and everything, but I didn't think that they were going to be in demand, right? But I put them together and those were the things that just went off. 400 downloads, 600 downloads, 800 downloads, organic, right? Your audience lets you know what they want and need. Even like with the website wellness check, okay? I've done nearly 1,000 of those. When people order one, I need to get information from them, right? Like their domain name, like their name, like what they want me to focus on, like all those kinds of things. And that form goes into a spreadsheet. And then I can look at that spreadsheet and I can say, okay, well, what did most people want me to focus on over here? And because there's nearly 1,000 replies, I've got really good data. And guess what? It doesn't match my sales page. My sales page speaks to what I thought they would want, how I thought it was going to help them, and what I thought, even educated thinking, I thought they needed, right? But what's showing up in what they're telling me is different. You have to listen. Your audience is going to tell you every single time. Now, that website wellness check, I started doing that like 3 years ago or something. I do them like every other week. There's people booking them every other week. Not a word of a lie. But I've also had like probably hundreds of paid products, free products, products at $7, products at $5, products at $10,000, right? And I can tell you that even though I always create them with high intention of being helpful, I'm always surprised at what moves and what doesn't. The things I think are going to be awesome, sometimes, a lot of the time, don't shift, and it's something else that does. And so that's what I'm saying. Your audience tells you what they want and what they need. And that's going to change over time as well, usually. Okay. So that happens because over time your audience grows, right? Your email list grows, your following on Facebook grows, the downloads of your podcast increases, like all those kinds of things. They happen. And so as new people come, it's new people with new challenges, with new interests, with new desires, with new all of this. And so you've got to be constantly creating things to help them. And I would always recommend finding a way that's going to allow you to calibrate your practice, your marketing, your messaging, so that you're always seen as a solution, so that you're always seen as a resource, right? So it's not just that you're offering a resource or offering a tool or something like that. We want you to be known as the go-to for the thing it is you do in the way you do it. But that doesn't happen by leaving one freebie on your website, especially if that's not getting downloaded, right? And you're just being like, no, I'm not changing it. I love it. Thanks for the feedback. I'm going to keep it as it is. No, I'm not going to put a email sequence to it because I don't agree with emailing people and that feels wrong and da 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 da, right? You know, it comes back to what I was saying before. It comes back to the beliefs, the stories, the identity, the values, the shadow values, the mindset, the vibration, like the energy you bring into it. Very, very different, you know. Even if you're posting on Facebook, for example, there's an energy behind a post where, I don't know, like for me, I love my dog, as you know. And sometimes I just throw up a selfie of me and my dog, and I'll just say something like, you know, what we're doing that afternoon, or how much I love him, or how cute he is, because I'm trying to work here and I find it hard to focus at the best of times, but he's distracting me because he's so stinking cute with his snoring that I'm finding myself repeating what I'm trying to do 10 million times, right? It's so frustrating, but at the same time, I've never been more in love with him. I can share that post and I feel so loved up. And then I can share another post that says, oh, if you haven't seen him yet, here's the latest draft of the national standards. It's like totally different energy. Which post is going to land for people in terms of feeling a connection with me, feeling like they're getting to know me, feeling like we're all the same, feeling like they get it, I get it, all of those kinds of things, right? There's a very different energy to perhaps sharing a blog article about mindfulness and how you should get out into nature and you should take 5 breaths and, breathe in for 6 and breathe out for 4. That's got an energy about it versus an energy where you're like, okay, so I know that if you are struggling with grief and loss, you're probably reading a lot. People have a lot of advice to give you, and maybe the last thing you need now is advice. So I'm not going to give you any. I was outside recently and I was sitting down on the grass with my dog, and we were just enjoying each other's company. Actually, where we were sitting down, there was daisies, and it reminded me of when I was in primary school. All the girls, we used to sit on the oval with our school dresses on, our little uniforms on, blue and white checked uniforms, with all our hair in ponytails with a blue ribbon. And we used to pick the daisies, the ones with yellow petals and the black centers. We used to pick the daisies, and then you used to get your thumbnail and poke a hole in the middle of the stem and thread another daisy through it, right? And then that second daisy, you'd repeat the process. Thumbnail through the stem, get another daisy, thread it through, and then you would have enough to make a chain, right? Daisy chain, and you would wear it as a necklace or a wristlet, or you would put it as a garland around your head or something like that. And yeah, I was just sitting there and I was just thinking about that, and it reminded me how much I miss those times where everything just felt easier and simpler and lighter and calmer. And yeah, I just noticed that in that moment, I just became aware all of a sudden of how peaceful I felt. And anyway, I just wanted to share it with you. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, you're also experiencing a moment of peace today. And I really, really, truly wish that for you. Which blog post do you think people are going to connect with more? It's because of the energy. It's not because of what you're writing. It's because of the energy behind it. One of them is, I don't know what to write. I'm scared of what to write. I don't want to put myself out there. I'm just going to play it safe because I'm new. I only have this qualification, blah, blah, blah. You're going to put something generic up. Different energy because you're not feeling it. You're not putting up that post from a great place. And that comes from identity again. Anyway, yeah, it's on the top of my mind at the moment because it's been so powerful and so helpful for me. And yeah, so you know me, like I love to track all my experiments, my results, and share them in Momentum. So I'll be doing that with this one as well. So if you're in Momentum and you're listening to this, get excited because at some point, I don't know when I'm going to finish this experiment. I'm feeling like I'm probably almost done with it. But over the next little while, hopefully before Christmas, I can get it into the library for you and you can start to have a play with it. Oh no, I will give it to the alumni. Yeah. So yeah, when you finish Momentum and you become an alum, maybe we'll just make it part of that because it's so big and good, and powerful and helpful, and I want you to have it. I really do. I really do. I want you to experience what I'm experiencing right now. It's so good, and I wish that somebody had developed something like this years ago, and I'd done it years ago for all kinds of reasons. But I think I've spoken enough for now, right? I don't even know how long I've been going for, but I'm going to stop. I keep saying I'll wrap it up. I'm serious. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening. Have a beautiful, beautiful day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.